Hi, and welcome to the Access Direct Opening Bell, your essential pre-market podcast. In just minutes, get key global updates, overnight trends, and market-moving factors that set the tone for the day. Whether you're a seasoned trader or just someone tracking the markets, this is your go-to briefing to stay ahead at all times. So let's dive straight in.
Good morning on a Friday, and we will start with US equities, which rose with the S&P 500 rallying 0.4% in what was its fourth straight daily advance. The gains came as traders increased bets that the Fed will cut rates more than was expected at the start of this week. This happened as producer prices fell to the lowest in 5 years on signs that tariff fears remain and retail sales slowed down notably. Talking markets, the VIX finished over 4% down. The dollar fell across the board. The 10-year Treasury yield ended 10 basis points lower at 4.43%. Gold fell to an over 1 month low before rebounding strongly and ending 2% higher, while NYMEX crude fell on continued progress on discussions around Iran's nuclear program. Elsewhere, the rupee rebounded from its session lows of 85.73 and settled at 85.55 as President Trump said that India has decided to drop all tariffs on the US. Meanwhile, data showed that India's trade deficit widened to a 5-month high of $26.4 billion in April as imports surged. Talking stocks, the Nifty gained 1.6% to finish the day at 25,062. The session was volatile with the benchmark falling nearly 200 points after it opened. The India VIX dropped 1.9% to 16.9, clocking its fourth straight fall. The NSE 500 small cap and mid cap indexes also rose. All of the 12 NSE sectors gained, with realty and auto stocks advancing 1.9% each. Were Hero MotoCorp, which rose 6.3%, and IndusInd Bank, which fell 0.1%. Technically speaking, the importance of the 15th May time window was evident yesterday, given the strong recovery we saw. Finishing about 25,000 is a psychological win for the bulls, and a close today above yesterday's high of 25,116 will be an even stronger signal. Immediate resistance sits in the 25,116 to 25,340 area, with an extension at 25,450. Support lies between 25,880 and 24,950. Elsewhere, provisional data showed that foreigners invested nearly 5,400 crores yesterday. The month-to-date inflow stands at around 15,000 crores. Onto derivatives, and the Nifty's put-call ratio went from 0.89 to 1.19, while that of the Bank Nifty rose to 0.93 from 0.82. More Nifty calls were liquidated compared with puts on account of weekly expiration, and implied volatility was flat, which meant that on a net basis, market participants had a neutral stance. Options concentration for the 22nd May expiration shows that the trackable range sits between 25,000 and 25,500, with the addition seen at the 26,000 strike, the largest for calls, and that seen at the 25,000 strike, the biggest for puts. Additionally, for the same expiry, calls 1% above the at-the-money strike became more cheap, while similar distance puts became less so, in a sign that volatility traders continued with their cautious stance. Speaking net index options activity, foreigners were slightly bearish, proprietary traders were slightly bullish, and retail investors were largely neutral. Elsewhere, foreigners' net short positioning in index futures shrank by 21,000 contracts to 13,000 contracts. Looking forward to today's session, the GIFT Nifty was up 100 points at 7:30 a.m. Asian equities were mostly down along with US index futures. Coming to stocks, HBL Power was at horizontal support, while Godrej, Agrovet and Ercon were at horizontal resistance. Asian Paints and Chambal Fertilizers were at trendline support, while 361 and AFL were at trendline resistance. Talking breadth, 88%, 68% and 41% of stocks in the NSE 500 were above their 50, 100 and 200-day averages. University of Michigan sentiment and data on housing starts are due from the US later today. That is a wrap on the day's podcast. Please note that this podcast serves solely for informational purposes and should not be considered financial advice of any kind. For a comprehensive disclaimer, please visit our website. Thank you, and we will see you Monday at the same hour. Enjoy your weekends and take care.
Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.